Welcome to RCAM. So the degenerate calendar is back. Yep. And yeah, we are going to talk about it. But before we do, like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell to stay notified. So, in addition to CalendarGate 2.0, which we'll be discussing today, we will also be having a broader conversation about modesty that I think needs to happen. And we will also discuss what's going on with Brett Cooper and the trailer for her new show, The Brett Cooper Show, featuring none other than Brett Cooper. You guessed it. And we'll also be discussing Trump wielding his power to basically make Colombia fold like a house of cards. And it's beautiful to watch. All right, let's just get right into it. So I have up here CalendarGate 1.0. This caused a lot of controversy, a lot about this time last year. So let's recap. All right, about a year ago, we were first introduced to the conservative beer company Ultra Light, who ventured into making their first demonic calendar, and leading the charge and calling them out was none other than Bryson Gray. And I believe he rightly identified this calendar as being demonic because it is. Now, some of you who might not be Christian might be thinking, this is not that big of a deal. They all seem pretty, fine, in comparison to worldly standards. But there's a reason that I think this calendar is particularly nefarious, and it's not just like like a Sports Illustrated calendar or something like that. Although I'm not endorsing it. This is a brand that exclusively markets itself as conservative. They claim to have conservative values, and I don't particularly see anything conservative about featuring scantily clad women in calendars to sell beer to dads. I don't think that's conservative. Seem very conservative to me. But yet that's what they tried to do. So I do believe that when Bryson Gray called the calendar demonic, he was 100% correct. And his response ultimately led to this huge conversation about modesty and what it actually means to be conservative. And this persisted for weeks, right? This went on for weeks, this conversation. And you had some people like myself who recognized the calendar as a whole as immodest. Now, there were definitely some photos, though there was this one in particular featuring the red-headed libertarian, which was not nearly as bad as the rest of the calendar. She's pretty well dressed. But her participating in the calendar as a whole, I would say was probably problematic. It probably contributed to um, men looking at other women un unfaithfully, and she's posing with the cross in this calendar that is marketed again to dads. This isn't like a libertarian calendar. They market themselves as a conservative beer company, and they are using these suggestive photos to sell their beer to dads, which, by the way, are also husbands. I made that point when this controversy first erupted. So you had, Josie, and Bryson Gray kind of going at it. I mean, they they went to war, and it was like a mask off moment for me with Josie because I previously had liked her, and I thought she was being kind of petty. So yeah, I just was not with it anymore. But anyway, so you had one faction, the right side, our side, uh, rightly identifying that this calendar was demonic, and then you had some others defending the calendar and accusing conservatives of being prude and being Puritans, and saying, "Oh, what's the big deal? They're just in, they're these women aren't, immodestly dressed, and they'd be using, the redheaded libertarian and some of the other, there's a couple other where they're pretty well dressed, but ignoring the whole rest of the calendar, So I'll bring that image back up, just so that we can look at it once more. So, we had Riley Gaines here in a bikini, Sarah Gonzalez, Dana Loesch, fine. This seems a little inappropriate. Ashley St. Clair looking suggestive, also again in a bathtub looking suggestive. This chick, in a bikini, looking suggestive. So yeah, just not a good look. Not a good look at all. Especially for conservative movement. So I just think big fail there, big miss. And so needless to say, I fell into the camp that, found this calendar to be inappropriate. So, well, let's flash forward. Let's flash forward to yesterday, and now we have a new calendar brought to us by the same man, the same degenerate man that brought us the first calendar. His name is Seth Weathers, and this is a little thread that he threw together to promote his new calendar. So he said, "Well, uh, you've all been waiting for what you have all been waiting for 12 months of conservative dads, MAGA babes from our 2025 calendar." And this is a thread. I'm not going to show you guys the thread because I just think it's inappropriate. And I'm just flat out going to show it. If you want to see it, you can go look at his thread. Even this photo that he was using to kind of lead it, like, her side breast is showing in the photo. And I actually think that this is his wife, which is kind of more disgusting to like you're using your wife to sell sexually suggestive photos of other women to dads and husbands. That's disgusting. um so I think yeah, that's a crazy way and a crazy scheme to sell his crappy beer, but that's what he chose to do. He chose to use his, his platform and, I guess his wealth or whatever whatever he has to market this calendar to men and husbands, and call it conservative. No. Just because we slap the label conservative on something doesn't actually make it conservative, you know? We have whole factions of people that call themselves conservatives, like, we have, conservative gays. That doesn't make any sense. But by very definition of being like a homosexual, you're not conservative, you know? Uh, Being scantily clad, that's not conservative, all right? If you want to be a libertarian, again, be a libertarian. That's fine. They're down with that. Identify as that, but stop calling yourself a conservative. Conservatives are supposed to conserve tradition, all right? And part of tradition, the traditional values of this country is modesty. And if we're not conserving modesty, then what the hell are we doing? Really, seriously, what are we doing? So, yeah. So I shouldn't have to spell out that, using scantily clad women to sell beer isn't conservative, you know? And honestly, do we have absolutely no modesty standards for conservative women? Can we at the very least agree that posting photos in bikinis to sell beer to dads, husbands is not okay? Can we at least agree there? Can we agree on that? But unfortunately, we can't, because we can't have any conversation around modesty without being met with rage and ad hominem attacks. It's silly. We're grown-ups. We can have these grown-up conversations about modesty, and I'd like to have one. And that's what I intend to do. So we can at least establish from my perspective, the right perspective, that these calendars are not modest. And I think most people agree with me. So we're going to look through some of the comments that he was receiving on this thread, because I do think they're open. So again, this is the bottom of the thread. You'd have to scroll through all degenerate photos to arrive here. But Abby Livy says, I can't even complain this year. This product is just too pathetic. Christopher, the Christ bearer, says, this is demonic. Chris is right. It is demonic. Morgan Ariel says, great. Another whole calendar that nobody asked for. Appalachian Chestnut writes, the images in the calendar are pretty tame, and Yankees have never understood why Southern culture has always allowed women to dress immodestly because it's hot down here. However, the problem is featuring married women and marketing this to married men specifically. Gross. So this is one of those things where it's like, I get hot too. I live down south. I'm not going to dress that way. I'm just not going to dress that way. Yeah, it gets hot. Deal with it. You don't have to. You don't have to walk around in bikinis every time it gets hot. We have one person agreeing with Seth. I love these calendars. It's so old school and classic. Yeah, because that's exactly something liberals would make. Yeah. So I guess they're more classical liberal than conservative. I think that would make sense for them. Philip Anderson wrote, "You do realize that half of right wing Twitter is going to attack you." And then he says, "So you're saying 50% is with me? I'll take it." That I did. I was reluctant to comment on this because of that exact reason. Because I know by commenting on it, you're bringing attention to it. But I'd rather bring him the negative, because as what Tis says, this is degeneracy, and y'all should stop. He's right. It is. It is degeneracy. This is wildly inappropriate for conservatives to be using as a marketing strategy. If part of your marketing strategy is, you find yourself asking, how can I use scantily clad women to sell my product? Maybe you're not conservative, or maybe you're not as conservative as you'd like to think, because there has to be some sort of standard of modesty. Look, I'm not, contrary to what they'll say, I'm not advocating for women to be in burqas. I think there's a fine line between bikini and burqa, and I think we can find it. I think we can meet in the middle somewhere and find something that works, that's modest, that's not a bikini and not a burqa. Is that too much to ask for? Are there no articles of clothing out there that conservative women can wear that are modest? Is it impossible in our modern culture to dress modestly? Is it? I don't think so. All right. So now that we established that the calendar is very clearly immodest, let's talk about something that I think is a little less clear. And it's this photo that I saw recently that I just wanted to share with you. All right. Now, when I first saw this photo, I thought, and I'm not lying, and I don't have porn brain, I'm just on Twitter, so you see a lot of crazy stuff. And when I first saw this photo, and I don't mean this as an insult to these women, but this is legitimately what I thought. I thought this photo was to promote OnlyFans or some sort of sex podcast. That's what I thought when I saw this photo. So imagine my surprise when I came to discover that this is actually to promote a tour these two women are doing for their podcast called Girls Gone Bible. Now, if that title sounds kind of familiar, you're probably old enough to remember ads for certain adult entertainment videos called Girls Gone Wild. Now, actually, I just want to go real quick to their webpage because I do think it's important to show this. so that you understand what I'm talking about. So, boom. So, yeah. So they even use the same logo and font for their content, and I think that's kind of wild. So I get that it's a play on words, but is it really wise to draw your viewers to make a connection with prominent smut videos every time they see the name of your podcast? Is that wise? I don't I don't think so. Yeah, call me crazy. I don't think it's wise. I don't. Anyway, I had ended up posing a question where I asked people whether or not they thought that this was modest. And most people actually agreed with me. I was surprised. I was actually surprised because I was expecting the opposite. I was expecting people to get really mad. Um, but that was not the case. So shout out to, my followers on Twitter for being sane and rational. I appreciate you. I really do. You still have some standards, but there were a few that were on the fence, and I was actually able to persuade some. Now, some of you may see this photo and think to yourself, "Shoulders? Really? You're getting upset about shoulders? Come on, come on, bro, what's wrong with you?" Uh, no, it's not just shoulders, okay? I think that this girl on the right is fine. I don't. She's she's okay. It's the one on the left that I actually take more issue with. So she is the one on the left subtly exposes her cleavage, and worse, you can't tell if this woman is in a dress or lingerie. I, I can't tell from this picture. That's why my first thought was that it was an OnlyFans podcast or a sex podcast because I couldn't tell. Um, but if I showed you this picture, and I do mean this as no disrespect to them, because I don't really know that much about them. I just know that they host this podcast. I know that they're very popular. But if I were to show you just this photo alone, do you think anybody would draw the conclusion that they are promoting a tour they're going on to talk about Jesus Christ and the Bible? Do, 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 do you think anybody would draw that conclusion just by looking at that photo? I don't think so. I don't think people would draw that conclusion that is a Christian podcast Bible tour photo. No. Now, this isn't an indictment on the actual women. I'm sure they're lovely ladies. And I don't watch them, so I couldn't really tell you anything about them other than what I've seen I've seen like a couple clips from them in this photo. But I don't think that photo screams Christian values. I think they could have left less to the imagination and showed a little less skin, to promote their Christian podcast tour. If this weren't a Christian podcast tour, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't care. I would treat them just like every other worldly woman. I wouldn't pay them no mind. There's tons of women that are doing this. Barstool Sports has tons of women that are promoting degenerate podcasts. You have Call Her Daddy. I'm surprised they aren't guest hosts on that show. But this would have, for the world, this is just the world being the world. But these women don't claim to be of the world. They claim to be of Christ, and they are insanely popular and are proclaiming the name of Jesus. And they are so popular, by the way, that they were just invited to pray with the President of the United States or for the President of the United States. So we'll pull this clip up real quick. Full disclosure, I have not listened to this prayer, but we'll listen to it together.
God, we thank you. We thank you that your will always prevails. Thank you, God, that it's your will. Your kingdom come, Lord. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, in America as it is in heaven, in the life of President Donald Trump as it is in heaven.
And we just want to take a moment and honor President Donald Trump.
Some people are mad about that prayer. I actually don't think it was that bad. But regardless, anyway, so it could tell you the level of influence they have. They're here speaking at praying for Trump at this rally or event, and yeah, so these aren't nobodies, all right. These people have a lot of influence, and they are ranked number one for religion and spirituality on podcasts like Spotify. They also have a social media following with a, a s- you know it's not small, it's not little. So on Instagram they have over 300,000 followers the last I checked, and YouTube they have more than 650,000 subscribers, so more than half a million subscribers. So these women again have reach, but this commentary that I'm having is not solely about these women in particular. I think these ladies bring to light a clear misunderstanding of what it means to be modest. If the women of God don't look discernibly different than the women of the world, then what is it that truly sets us apart? What is it? What does it mean to be modest if our form of modesty doesn't look any different from the women of the world? What does it mean to be modest? What does it mean to clothe ourselves in righteousness when we're drawing all the attention to ourselves and leaving things to the imagination? What does it say to the world when supposedly Christian conservative women are posing for calendars to sell sex to dads and husbands? What does that say? No. We need to raise a standard. We need to have a conversation, a serious conversation about being modest. Now, I'm not saying the Girls Gone Bible thing is the most immodest thing in the world, but you know, does this photo draw glory to God, or are they drawing glory to themselves? Judge for yourself. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this. So feel free to comment and let me know. All right, switching gears a little bit, we are going to talk about Brett Cooper's upcoming return to content creation. So I've been following this story pretty closely. Now, I'm not going to claim that I have ever been a huge Brett Cooper fan. Definitely have not been. I've seen some of her clips. I've agreed with some of the things that she has said. She seems like a sweet girl, seems like a nice enough person, seems very likable. I commend her for being able to reach Gen Z in ways that, a lot of conservative influencers haven't. So I don't have any personal gripes with Brett, but I am a fan of the Daily Wire, have been for a very long time, and I do find this conflict with her and the Daily Wire to be interesting and newsworthy. Also, her show has her YouTube channel with her now her only posting one video has over half a mil. She garnered over half a million subscribers, so that's no small feat. Anyway, she announced her comeback, and yeah, so she has she posted this tweet: "We're so back. and then posted the clip to her official trailer. So let's give it a watch.
After weeks of speculation, Brett Cooper has left.
Well, it looks like the rumors were true.
Brett Cooper's departure has caused quite a stir.
The internet is absolutely melting down.
Brett Cooper did, in fact, announce her exit.
Brett Cooper announces she is leaving the Daily Wire.
Brett Cooper is officially leaving the Daily Wire.
She is walking away.
Brett Cooper has left.
She is gonzo. Brett Cooper says, I'm out of here.
Now Brett Cooper has nearly 500,000 subscribers without a single video yet.
Shirley has a channel. There's now at 500,000 subs.
If you look at her numbers, Brett Cooper is popping off.
She has one of the fastest growing YouTube channels.
But what's the end all be all for Brett Cooper?
The big question on a lot of our minds is, what is she going to do next?
The world you desired can be won. It exists. It is real. It is possible. It's yours. But to win it requires your total dedication and a total break with the world of your past. Fight for the value of your person. Fight for the virtue of your pride. Fight with the radiant certainty and the absolute rectitude of knowing that yours is the morality of life and that yours is the battle for any achievement, any valor, any grandeur, any goodness, any joy that has ever existed on this earth.
Are you ready, Brett?
I'm ready.
So that comes out in just a couple days. So we'll see what So yeah, that's coming out. And I just want to see. So she's at 760,000 subscribers. And she's posted one video. God almighty. 700, that's crazy. Those numbers are insane. Which shows you how popular she is. Now, again, I don't have any particular loyalty toward Brett Cooper. I do feel, I'm a Daily Wire fan. I'm going to try to be as objective about this as humanly. Okay. Some things I did notice in this trailer. So, obviously, most of you guys know that Candace Owens is no friend of the Daily Wire. They are on bad blood. They do not like each other at all. And Candace Owens had a huge falling out, which I do think, looking back, I do not necessarily agree with how the Daily Wire handled everything with Candace Owens. I don't. I had spoke at the time. Ben Shapiro had said something publicly about Candace Owens that he should have addressed privately. And I just, strictly from a leadership perspective, it seemed unprofessional to me. But I don't know what happened behind the scenes between the two of them. I have my speculations, but it ultimately didn't work out. So she was a big talent to lose. And I think Brett Cooper, including her in this video, this comeback video, is not an accident. This is very intentional. Okay. This is her kind of drawing a line in the sand, saying, I'm with Candace, which, does not surprise me because the two of them were friends. They hung out together. They were cordial. And, maybe some of the fallout between her and the Daily Wire has to do a little bit with that, maybe she didn't like how they treated her friend. Maybe she disagreed with, their stance on Israel, which is what, she's well within her right to disagree with how they cover that topic. But it definitely seems like she has thrown in her lot with Candace. There's another clip real quick. I want to pull up. I think this is it. Yeah. So she interacts with Candace quite a bit. This is about Selena Gomez. We'll talk about that too. I gotta cover the Selena Gomez thing, but we'll come back to that. We'll circle back. Anyway, we learned some more things about kind of a little bit from Jeremy's perspective on the things that have happened. I'm kind of curious to hear from her perspective what happened, even if she's allowed to say anything, which I doubt. I actually highly doubt that she's going to be able to say anything. She is presumably under an NDA. So I don't suspect we will hear anything from her about her departure from the Daily Wire. But let's play and listen to a little bit of Jeremy Boring's explanation for some of the rumors surrounding this departure.
Most the entire time that there's been the comment section, not from the very earliest days, but almost the entire time, 2 years, has been the producer of the show, has helped to write the show every single day.
He's referencing Reagan, who has took over the show for Brett. A lot of people are very mad about that. Very, very mad. And she's not having a good time on YouTube. Overwhelmingly, even still, people are throwing her shade, which I don't agree with at all. I don't fault the girl for taking an opportunity. People say she backstabbed her friend. She took an opportunity. If Daily Wire gave me the opportunity and my buddy was working for the Daily Wire and I was his producer and I got that opportunity, they offered me, a nice sum of cash. I'm doing what's best for me, right? I love my friends too. And my friend, by the way, would probably be happy. Just saying. A real friend would.
2 episodes a day, and has been Brett's best friend. And so, some of the accusations against Reagan have been really ugly, like that she's impersonating Brett. Well, that's unfair. If Reagan seems a bit like Brett, it's because she's Brett's best friend and one of the writers and the producer of the show. She's worked as much on the show every day on what the show would look like and feel like and sound like as Brett has for these last 2 years. They've done that together. Obviously, they have a lot in common in terms of their delivery because they have helped craft the show together. Some of the rumors I saw that we sent Reagan to acting lessons to make her more like Brett, that's absolutely absurd and deeply offensive. Reagan's enormously talented. She's been an enormous part of building the comment section for the last 2 years. And I've never sent her to an acting lesson. She's never asked me to send her to an acting lesson. I've never asked her to do anything to be more like Brett. If anything, we've told her make the show as much your own as you can while maintaining the format. But she is like Brett because they are friends and collaborators, have been collaborators on the show. It's actually ironic because I did send Brett to various kinds of lessons as a performer, not acting lessons. Brett's a terrific actress and always, the entire time I've known her, she has been, as will be evident when you see the Pendragon cycle. But I did send her to dancing lessons and singing lessons in preparation for her role as Snow White. I sent her to dialogue coaching sessions to help her with her role in the Pendragon cycle, and that's good. That's like saying that you shouldn't send a performer to lessons is like saying that my political host shouldn't read books. They should just know everything. It should all be natural. What nonsense. You should always be making yourself better, and Brett did take steps to make herself better and better and better, and I'm sure will continue to. And perhaps Reagan will as well, but what Reagan hasn't done is taking acting classes to be more like Brett Cooper. That is just completely absurd, and it's hurt my feelings a little bit that Brett hasn't done more to defend her friend Reagan. Brett chose to leave the show. It was her idea, her stated desire to leave the show and to leave the company. She had personally recommended Reagan to me. Before she told me she wanted to leave the show, she had personally recommended Reagan to me and told me that if she ever did leave the show, Reagan would be a great person to consider to host it, and that at any rate, I should give something to Reagan because she should be on-screen talent. And the audience, whenever Reagan would guest host the comment section, the audience loved her. The comments were almost universally positive. In fact, many of the things that they're now criticizing her for in the comments were the things that they liked most about her when they didn't know that Brett was leaving the show. And for that reason, I know that most of these attacks on Reagan are completely unfair. They're completely disingenuous People aren't really raising these criticisms. They're either helping to craft or buying into a narrative which has been crafted by people who want the Daily Wire to fail and want Reagan to fail in the role. And both will be disappointed because Reagan will not fail in this role. And the Daily Wire will not fail. We continue to grow and we continue to succeed. And business is hard. And we'll go through you're always going to go through a little bit of a downturn in audience after a very popular host leaves a show. But Brett will go on and build her next thing, and she'll do just fine and continue to be very successful. And Reagan will continue to find her footing with her new role as host of the comment section and continue to thrive. And absolutely, we will do other kinds of content with Reagan. Reagan and Brett are different. We did other kinds of content with Brett in the form of acting. She played a very important role in the Pendragon cycle because Brett is a very gifted actress.
I thought he was gracious. I thought he was pretty fair, and I thought that was a pretty reasonable explanation. He talked about how Reagan was just as involved with the show as Brett was, and watched her, produced her, probably coached her on some of her maneuvers, probably gave her some feedback on her inflection and how she's communicating. So that seems pretty normal to me. And it's actually normal to pick up certain traits and characteristics of people that you spend a lot of time around, or even spend a lot of time watching. There are podcasters that I've listened to for years that have influenced me just by listening to them. The way I talk, the way I just from listening to the same person over and over again. Yes, you pick those things up. That's kind of normal. So I imagine if this person is your best friend, that you're probably going to pick up a thing or two from that friend. So I do think the attacks on Reagan they're not cool, man. It's just not. Remember, this is she took a job. All right. Let her take the job. If you don't like her, that's fine. Go support Brett. Brett, as Jeremy had said, chose to leave. She chose to do her own thing. So clearly she has support. Clearly it's something that she had been planning. So I don't get why, Reagan can't continue to host the comment section, which the Daily Wire owns, by the way. It's not called the Brett. It was not called the Brett Cooper Show. Now, if they did this with Matt Walsh, the Matt Walsh show, and then suddenly I'm watching some other person that's not Matt Walsh, I'd be quite upset. All right, because it is called the Matt Walsh. It's built around Matt Walsh, but the show was called the comment section with Brett, implying that they would likely have other guests come in. And I wouldn't be surprised if in several years we see Reagan move on from that and it be replaced with a younger talent. And it's fine now. It should be fine then. But man, some of these comments, they're just unrelentless. I want to just play for you a clip that was shared by Magman, who I think he got an unfair shake at it too. We'll talk about that. So he says, no YouTube channel, especially comment section, deserves this much hatred from the internet. Just look at these comments. People are horrible. Brett's new video reached 1 million views in 20 hours. Crazy. Clicks on video, pause, read comments, closes video. Never been so happy for ads before. Don't even have to see the impersonator's face. Did you guys see Brett starting a new show? Yeah, this is mean. It's just mean. You don't have to you don't have to watch her. Just move on. Move on. Don't leave angry comments. And you don't even know what actually went down. You don't know. And I'm not saying this is all we know. Brett could have been the bad actor. You don't know. Brett could have put her friend in a bad situation. You don't know. I don't know. I just don't think this is warranted. And it just goes on and on. Like, this poor girl, man. I feel legitimately bad. Love how all the comments are just about Brett's new video. Man, that's not cool. The internet is mean. The internet is mean. Candace Owens also had some comments on this, so we'll listen to what she says. All right.
Then he sort of gets into like why the audience doesn't accept Reagan, like why the show is failing, and here's what he had to say.
And the audience, whenever Reagan would guest host the comment section, the audience loved her. The comments were almost universally positive. In fact, many of the things that they're now criticizing her for in the comments were the things that they liked most about her.
Well,
this is like commentception, you know. I'm commenting on a video that somebody else commented on that's responding to. I know it's a little much.
Because she wasn't replacing her then. She was simply filling in.
I do like this guy's like very common sense. Like everyone, yeah, it's a little different if I'm like, hey, Brett's gonna fill in for me, and I was like, oh my god, great, I love to see that they're friends. And then like afterwards, you're like, just kidding, Brett was pretending to be her friend, and she stabbed Candace in the throat, and now she's got her job. Like there's obviously a difference in how the audience is going to receive that. There's an emotional understanding here that I think is perhaps being missed, but now it sort of becomes like the audience fault. Then
Brett quit though. Brett quit. Was her friend just supposed to be like, I will follow you? Is she supposed to be Samwise Gamgee? Follow her right into the heart of Mordor and not take an opportunity presented to her? I don't get, like, I don't. And Jeremy said that Brett recommended her. So there's something, guys, we're all missing. We all don't know. So it doesn't make any sense. All right. So last thing too. By the way, I don't have a problem with Brett. As I said, I don't have any issues with her. But I don't know why this has not been a bigger deal for conservatives. I don't think anybody has talked about it, and I want to talk about it. All right. So this is Amir Odom. He came to Brett's defense because he is Brett Cooper's best friend, who is a homosexual. No big deal. Speaking of weakening conservatism, why is one of the leading voices in Gen Z women's bestie a homosexual? I don't know. That to me always left like a yuck. Like all right, I'm not with it. So he came to her defense. Whatever. He's your friend. Anyway, with that said, I'm curious to see what Brett does and how her show pans out. And I hope she's successful. And I hope people lay off Reagan. Leave the girl alone. All right. Let her have the comment section. In 3 years, she's gonna 3 or 4 years, she's gonna move on to something different too, and they'll have a newer, younger host. And hopefully you guys have matured a little bit and stopped acting pathetic little children. Hopefully that's the case. We'll see. All right. Immigration. Let's talk about it. So, I haven't commented on Trump's epic victory yet, and I just gotta say, you guys know I've not been 100% supportive of Trump. He was not my choice for president, but I've been pleasantly surprised with everything that he's done in his first week in office, now going on to week 2. I think he's done incredible things. He set the pro-lifers free. He freed Bevel and Betty, and I think that's awesome. He's freed the January 6ers. He has banned DEI in the government. I think that is awesome. And he's just had one win after another, and it is kind of mind-blowing to me. So I'm very excited for what his presidency holds. I'm actually very optimistic about the future with him in power. because he is wielding his power the right way. He is not afraid to use it. I think he signed more executive orders in his first day than any president in history. And he used it to advance the will of Americans, and he used it righteously. And I think that's a good thing. And he did it, did a lot of things to undo the abysmal job this last administration has done. And I'm very impressed. I am very, very impressed with what Donald Trump has done his first week in office. Okay. So let's let's talk about some of the controversy that happened this week. So the president of Colombia refused to take illegal aliens who invaded our country back. He says he will deny entry to the US planes carrying his citizens. They made this tweet and it was translated. So this is Gustavo Petro. The United States cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. I deny the entry of American planes carrying Colombian migrants into our territory. The United States must establish a protocol for dignified treatment of migrants before we receive them. What might I ask is undignified about putting people on planes and sending them back to their country? I've flown international before. There's nothing undignified about. I mean, unless you're flying Frontier, there's nothing. If they were flying Frontier, then maybe he has a case. But I think fine, it's fine. So he had a big issue with this, and Trump responded quickly too, might I add. And Trump used the power that was given to him to put the fear of God in this man. So this is from Byron Donald, a story in 5 parts. Colombia refuses reparation flights of their own citizens. Trump counters with tariffs and sanctions. Trump dares Colombia to F around and find out. That's what FAFO is. And the House and Senate legislation is drafted to sanction Colombia. Colombia agrees to pay all of Trump's terms. So this is the tweet or post Trump made after they were denying entry to their own citizens, by the way. These are their citizens. Their people, not ours, theirs. And Trump said, I was informed that 2 reparations flights from the United States with large numbers of illegal criminals were not allowed to the land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president Gustavo Petro, who's already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States. So I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. Emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming to the United States. In 1 week, the 25 tariffs will be raised to 50%. A travel ban and immediate visa revocation of the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. Visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. IEEPA, Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions to be fully imposed. These measures are just the beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to the acceptance and return of the criminals they forced into the United States. Epic. I mean, just coming down with an iron fist. That is awesome. That is just next level badassery that we saw demonstrated from Trump. And I'm very well pleased. Very, very well pleased. So after this happens, the Colombian government folds like a house of cards. No, Trump, we didn't mean it. My bad. My bad. We're not going to do that. Not only are we not going to, did we say undignified? We're going to send our own planes, our presidential planes, to pick up these migrants. Please, Trump, please have mercy on us. So this statement was released by the White House press secretary. The government of Colombia has agreed to all the president's terms, including unrestricted acceptance of illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including the U.S. military aircraft, without limitation or delay. Based on this agreement, the fully drafted IEEPA tariffs and sanctions will be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor this agreement. So yeah, and he, I guess, retweeted this, and then after looking like a weak fool, he untweeted it, and I just think it's amazing. That is how you wield power. That is how you strike fear in the hearts of your enemy. You let them know you're not playing around. You're not going to take war criminals. Okay. All right. You want to play ball? Let's play. I'm going to cripple your country. I'm going to make life for you very, very unpleasant until you do what you are obligated to do. And he did it. And he posted this meme. So this is him in like a gangster suit and, with that sign, F around and find out. And I just think that's awesome. That is awesome on so many different levels. And that's just been great. And his overall, plan to stop immigration has been great. He's, ramping up the number of arrests that he's making every single day. And immigrants are afraid and they are reacting accordingly. So I wanted to play this clip that I think is funny because, I'm excited to see illegals get deported. It fills my heart with joy to know that our president is prioritizing the safety of our own people and the way of life for our own people. That he is prioritizing American citizens and our own country. But not everybody shares those sentiments. Some people are upset, very upset that their people, because they've decided to align themselves with illegal aliens, are getting deported. And this is a tweet from, this is a quote tweet from Piers Morgan that I thought was good. Posting yourself weeping over illegal criminals being deported is a new level of absurd celebrity narcissism. So this is a tweet from Selena Gomez. Let's give it a watch.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children.
The children, why? God, why?
I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do with my millions of dollars. I can't help anybody. I can't do anything.
I'll try everything, I promise.
Needless to say, Selena Gomez got tore up for this. I mean,
I just want to say that I'm so sorry.
She got torn up. And she deleted this post. And then she did a follow-up post basically, saying, I'm sorry I care so much, that's what I get for caring about people, making it about her because she's a narcissist. I thought Candace Owens did a great job. Had great commentary on this, so I want to hear her commentary real quick.
picturing her setting up for that makes me laugh, right? So you have a feeling coming on. Imagine you in your life, like something happens, I don't know, you start crying hysterically, like nobody grabs their cell phone. Think about the steps there, right? Oh, I'm sad. I open my Instagram. My life. I'm so sorry. My live? Is it going? Is it going? Okay, it's live. That's her. I'm so sorry. I don't know what is happening. It's weird. It's the moment of consciousness that is weird for me. That you're thinking about your family. It tells me you're not really sad, because when you cry and you're actually super upset about something, the last thing you're thinking about is social media. You're not trying to capture social media. So this only works if you're being filmed. Like, okay, if you're on.
So if I was ever crying, all right, which you won't see me cry, but if I was crying and somebody put a camera on, I'd be mad. I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Catching me in this vulnerable state. There's no world where I would actually pull out my phone and do what Selena Gomez is doing. And you want to know what is the most frustrating thing about the video? I would understand if she showed that same energy for American citizens. Where were her tears when, the people of North Carolina were being devastated by a natural disaster? Even California being burned to the ground, no tears. Or Laken Riley being murdered by illegal immigrants. And she made it a point to say, my people. Her people, I guess, are illegal aliens that murder our own citizens. That's the people that she lines herself up with, and not her own country's people, which is pretty jarring to me. But yeah, these videos are just hysterical. Just don't record yourself crying. It will almost always come off as disingenuous. The only time you get a pass for it is if you are already live and you're talking about something and then you just get like moved and then you cry. Unless you're a man. Then it's never okay. But Jesus, man, these people are just such narcissists. They are all about themselves. And they're so dishonest, and too, nobody's fallen for it. We don't care that you're crying. And this is the sentiment by like everybody. Candace Owens is making fun of her. I literally did the same thing before I saw Candace Owens' video. I made my own video immediately after making fun of her. I gave a helpful guide on how to cry, to record yourself crying. I think you guys should watch it. It's on TikTok and Reels, even on X somewhere. Good video, good guide, very handy. And I do think that in that regard, Selena Gomez gives a really helpful guide on how to be, virtue signaling fraud. I think she does a fantastic job. So there's that. So more on immigration. We have Mexico here. I'm not going to... This isn't in English, so I don't think... And I can't read sign language.
Pero que se oiga bien y que se oiga fuerte.
I don't know what you're saying. All right, but anyway, so I'm just going to take Miles Chiang's word for it, even though I don't trust this guy. Mexico Socialist President Claudia Steinberg attacks Trump and says that the Mexican immigrants sustain the economy in the U.S., in the countryside, and services everywhere. Why can't they go home to Mexico? Yeah, and sustain the country right there. So she's arguing, she's upset. She's upset that we are deporting all of the, illegal Mexicans back to their own country because they help us out so much. Why would we do such a thing? Or maybe, if they're so helpful, then you take them. Have them sustain your economy. Have them build up your economy. If they're so helpful, do that. Oh, I didn't even pull up the clip. Well, anyway. You wouldn't have been able to understand it unless you speak Spanish. Then you can go back. Unless you're illegal, then you can go back to Mexico. Anyway, I just think these people, man, it's just so mind blowing. It's mind blowing. These are your people. They're your people. If they're so helpful, have them in your country. Bring them on down. Have them participate in your economy. Have them revital. You should be excited. You're getting all these productive members of society back in your country. That's great. That's fantastic. You should be thrilled. Of course, the reality is that she knows that a lot of these people are scumbags, and she's glad they're not in her country because they're murdering our people. And her people has less crime and less burden on their system to deal with. So they pass the buck on to us. It's disgusting, honestly. And Colombia pulled this crap. I think Haiti is upset too that they're getting people, they're getting their immigrants back. What are we gonna do? Your problem. And these people have no problem dumping the worst of the worst in our country, and then they act indignant when we do it back. Get the hell out of here. And then we should care? No. And Trump already proved we'll just wield our power, and you'll have to get in line. You'll just have to deal with it. Yeah, they're coming back whether you want them to or not. Or if you refuse, you're going to pay heavily for it. There's a new chief in town, and he ain't playing the same games Biden did. He's not doing it. So continuing on immigration, there's this clip that is beautiful, and I wanted to play it for you because this is setting up Vance in 2028. If he continues doing this, he will without a doubt get my vote.
When you talked to us in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary
Do you stand by
concern
it?
as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that
So
we
no.
know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These
It's
people are
not
vetted.
good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he
Yeah.
wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really
But
care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
We'll be back.
We do. We 100% agree with Vance. We don't really care, Margaret, at all. At all. We don't care about Selena Gomez's crocodile tears. We don't care that Mexico wants them to sustain our economy. We don't care that Colombia thinks that we're treating them undignified by moving them over there on planes. We don't care. We don't care about any of that. We care about our own country's people. We are America first. We are prioritizing our own people. And I just think Vance nailed this. I mean, he nailed it, man. He pointed out the fact that their vetting measures have failed. So even the people that they're vetting are trash and are doing horrific things to our people. So it doesn't matter if they vet them or not. They still don't belong here. They can go to their own country. And that moment where he says, I don't really care, Margaret, that's become a meme. And I've used it already. I think it's great. I don't really care, Margaret. I don't care. And that echoes the sentiment of most Americans. We don't care. We're tired of your emotional blackmail. We are tired of America being put last. We are tired of our citizens being murdered. We are tired of our taxpayers being wasted. We are tired of our borders being flooded by people that don't respect our country, our values, our beliefs. We are tired of it. So we don't care, Margaret, and we will do what is necessary to get them out of our country. So deal with it. Because that's all they're going to be able to do at this point. You're just going to have to cope and deal with it. So we do have a new press secretary. And I got to say, I had commented on, the first post I saw of her. And I said, she's no Kayleigh McEnany. Big fan of Kayleigh McEnany. I thought the way she handled the press was beautiful. I thought she was very, very articulate. I thought her takedowns are just impressive. She came out with her binder and she was ready. She was ready to smack the press up. She handled them. But this chick, I'm already eating my words. She's pretty good. All right, she's pretty good. I like her. I think she's gonna work. And I like that she comes to this press briefing with that bold, pronounced cross representing Jesus. So Christian woman representing Christ, handling the press, I think is awesome. So I'm going to play for you this first clip that was shared by End Wokeness. Reporter, how many of the migrants that were deported have criminal record? Levitt, all. Invading is a crime.
Carolina on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way.
It's like a mic drop moment.
So it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You made a point of the worst first. They all have a criminal record?
And welcome to the briefing. If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal. Yes. Thank you.
Are you telling me all murderers are criminals? What? Yeah, when you break a law, you're a criminal. That's called criminal behavior. Breaking laws is that's why the laws are in place. That if you break them, you are now guilty of a crime. But they've been so used to lawlessness that any standard of morality of the United States actually upholding our own law is wild to them. What do you mean the people illegally entering the country are illegal? You're telling me they're all criminal? Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what she is saying. That's what we've been saying. That's why we've been very consistent in calling them illegal aliens. Because they are here illegally, unlawfully, criminally. So I thought she handled that great. Yes, all forms of illegal immigration when they come here, and they don't come the legal way, they are criminals. And she continued to just handle the press, and she did drop this mind-blowing revelation. I'm just going to play the clip, and then we're going to talk about it.
Just during this pause, DOJ and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOJ and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
What? So this $37 million to who is crazy to me, but they were also about to send $50 million to Gaza for condoms? What? What? This is why Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, is necessary. And Elon Musk, he did share this post commenting on this story. He said, tip of the iceberg. So, which is exactly what I was thinking. I can't even begin to imagine the levels of waste that are happening. I can't even fathom it. So, too, by the way, they eliminated DEI programs, Doge. They eliminated, I think, like 16 DEI contracts, something along those lines. And they have already saved our government, I believe it was like $150 million, like some insane number of money, $148 million by just eliminating 16 contracts. Then you couple that with them stopping the money, stopping the funding to the WHO, and stopping the money going to Gaza for condoms. And that's like 200 million right there just for those few things in the first, week. I can't begin to express how radically wasteful our government is. I'm convinced that half of the government can be wiped out right now and we wouldn't feel the financial pressure of it. It'd be fine. If Elon Musk did what he did with Twitter to the government, we wouldn't feel it. Except maybe we get like not as great customer service. But you already get crappy customer service with the government anyway. If you've been to the DMV, you know that. So nothing would change. Everything would be the same. So yeah, I think Doge is proving that it is probably the most essential government program. And even them, when they're done, will dismantle, go away. And I think Trump is making the right moves. And there's so much more that I want to talk about, man. He's talking about banning ending the income tax and making up all that money again via tariffs. If he does that, that's going to be legendary. That's going to be legendary. That's going to be epic. Imagine Americans getting more of their own money back and not having to give it to Uncle Sam first. For me, that's like $600 to $800 a month back in my pocket. That's how much money they take. My brother, it's even more. The amount of money they take, it makes me sick. So Trump is starting off his presidency, I think, better than probably any president in history. He's knocking it out of the park. He is blowing my expectations away. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's doing a damn good job right now. And I am very impressed, and I am excited to see what comes next. There's so many executive orders that I'm having trouble keeping up with them. He signed another executive order today that is going to end the chemical and surgical mutilation of those under 18. I personally think it should be just period. We shouldn't be allowed to do those surgeries. But yeah, he's already prioritizing the well-being of our kids. He already passed the legislation or signed the executive order establishing male and female, and now he's following through on his promise to stop these Frankenstein doctors. I think this is awesome. I think this is great. So I am really optimistic about everything that he is doing, and I'm excited to see what comes next. I am genuinely looking forward to the America that we live under with Donald Trump. All right. That's all for me today, guys. I hope you have a blessed night. Deuces.